Now I would like to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Reinhard Wagner. He's head of consulting and member of the executive committee of TIBA in Munich, also assistant professor and deputy head of international doctoral study in project management at Alma Mater Europea University. And he's going to speak on the PMO's role in supporting a career path for project managers. So over to you, Dr. Reinhard.
Thank you for the invitation and good morning. I'm very happy to have this time now to speak about a different topic, which is the career path. Let me just put it in the presentation mode. Not yet possible. To see what's going on here. But I think you see anyway, it enlarged. So, and I'd like to present about the PMO's role in supporting a career path for project manager, which is a topic I'm dealing with since 25 years now, with big organizations here in German industry. But it's also a hot topic right now. It started early 2000s, but now we are back again because the need for project managers, etc., is actually growing. But I need to stop sharing, unfortunately. Let me go back. I'm having difficulties. Just a moment, I need to. Can you maybe share the slides on your side? Because I have difficulties to.
Okay, let me try. Give me 1 moment.
I try to reopen again.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so just let me know whenever you want me to move down. I have this as a PDF.
Okay. Thanks. So now I'll move to the next slide. And as you already have heard, I'm dealing with that topic also from an academic perspective, because right now it's very important to see what kind of job skills we have on the arena. So what kind of job profiles do the project managers need to fulfill? Next slide, please. And so that's what I'm dealing with also in my academic life. Now let's give some context to this topic, and maybe you can enlarge it to the full screen, please, my slides. Yes, next slide. Now, when we are dealing with
Next
projects,
one.
Next one, yes. I presented last year that we are in an era where we see projectification is growing. Projectification means that we are doing more and more projects, but that also has a big impact on the organizations dealing with projects. So we need project managers. And like here in Germany, we see the demand for project managers on all levels of competence is growing in the past years. So already now, more than 1/3 of our gross domestic product is done through projects. And it means we do thousands, 100,000s of projects. I just concluded a call with a company that had annually 8,000 projects. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So for all of those projects, they need project managers. And this is why the demand of project managers in Germany is also growing very much. Next slide, please. Because actually projectification means that we also looking into two aspects from the organizational perspective. So what do we need to do to be attractive as an organization to young talents, to project managers with also experience and all sorts of. But it's also from the perspective of the project managers themselves quite interesting to see what is projectification, this trend in our economy doing with them. For what kind of opportunities do they see for themselves doing projects? What kind of advantages do they have growing in their career through projects, through an increasing complexity of projects they are doing? But it's also maybe some disadvantages because project work is a temporary work. So what is next? So if you finish one project, can you continue with the next project, etc.? So these are the two sides that are relevant for a career perspective in organizations. And this is what I want to focus. Next slide, please. And I'm building scientifically also on the concept that John Cotter presented many years back, the dual operating system. Because for the transformation in many industrial organizations, they are coming from that left side, where you have a more line-oriented, hierarchical organization, which builds on stability and efficiency, where you have line departments for all sorts of functions of the organization. They are organized in a more hierarchical way, and leadership is more in a command and control exercise through the organization. And if you do projects, they are quite predictable. So the planning is one of the key paradigms of that kind of organization. But you're well aware that in our organizations now, we feel and suffer from a lot of change that's going on in our economy, in our environment, so that we have to do a lot of change activities and transformation and transitioning. And so that's on the right side, the second heart of an organization, or the second logic of an organization developing, growing. And that's more what we call the project organization, which is prone and focusing on change and transformation, which is less hierarchical and more self-organizing and empowering the people in there in that context. And the focus is more on innovation and agility. So that looks a bit like two extremes in one organization. And that's exactly the challenge many organizations right now are facing, because in reality, there's some way in between those two logics. So they are run strategically by more this left side, by strategic plans, long-term planning. Some have 5 years plans, an annual budgeting process, etc., which is not flexible enough for an agile setup for a project organization that is maybe not bound to an annual tact or pace. So somewhere also the career perspective of project managers is some way also stuck in between, because typically career is organized in the line organization. So on the left side with these HR talks and human resource dialogues, which are done on an annual basis, which focus on the line tasks of people. And some organizations do not really have a project management career, but they feel a need for a career path for the project managers. And so you see, so all energy and thinking is now moving from the left to the right. And this is why there's more attention to the project views in an organization, and also the desires and the demand to become attractive for young talents to go for a project manager role, because otherwise you won't find enough people managing your projects. Now, next slide, please. So this is why there are some baselines or frameworks or standards that look into the organizational competence, like this IPMA organizational competence baseline. outlining what now needs to be done in an organization to do this transformation. So first, and that's also very important for a career system, what is your vision, your mission, your strategy in this domain of projects, programs, and portfolios? So what do you want to achieve through that? Coming from a line setup with a line strategy. So what is that direction? You also have, and I think that's the topic of today and also the topic of many of the presentations here, how can a PMO support that transformation towards that more project-oriented organization in all aspects, also in the aspect of career, which is my topic. But then professionalization of project management within the entire organization is a big topic. So creating project management handbooks, program standards, portfolio management methodologies, and all this stuff, also involving roles beyond the project manager. So let's say steering committees, sponsors, etc. So I think that's very important to take care, not only for the methodologies and the tools and the organizational side, but also for the HR side of project management. So it means also that you have to develop competences, organizational, but also individual competences in that regard. So it means you have training curricula in project program, portfolio management, and all that needs to be combined with the career model, because the career model helps you to develop your competences throughout your career from, let's say, a starting position up to maybe a project director's position. And all that, that was the discussion with the company today, was also how can we make this project management and these job profiles more attractive to people which have a very difficult and challenging job, so that they say, okay, I also see a professional career, a development, a progression in that organization. So I want to enter something like a career path. And that is an offering that an organization or company can do to the young talents, especially in the recruiting and also later in the retention process. Now, the big question to become attractive, it means what makes the project world attractive. Let me go into a theory. Next slide, please. And it's quite interesting that there is a psychological theory, the self-determination theory, which basically answers the question, what are the key needs of people, individuals like you and me? And scientifically, the answer is there are three pillars of that desire of people. First is autonomy. So we want to self-actualize and do something on our own. We also want to show our competence to ourselves, but also to others. And we love to do that with other people. So these are the three pillars and the three basic needs of humans in an organization. And if you look at those three, it's a perfect match to what we do in projects. Because in projects, you self-actualize. Projects are there to grow also your own competence. And they require competence, but also competence development, because projects are innovative, they are new, etc. And typically in projects, especially here in our industrial environment, we work together in teams. So this desire of people, that needs of people can be put into the project context. And so people, and that's also our experience, they love to do projects. And especially the young generation, Generation Z, loves to do something on them on their own. They like space to maneuver. They don't like to be just a box in an org chart. They also like to develop their own competences in a certain setting, and they love to collaborate with a diverse team of maybe more experienced people, but also other people from different contexts, like intercultural contexts, etc. So this is why a project is a perfect, let's say, attractor for an organization to bring them into an organization and let them do projects and grow their career. So this is also the rationale why we typically start here with designing a career path. What for? Why do we do that? What's the main purpose of a career path? To be an attractor for young talents to enter that world of projects in an organization. And I'm not going into this citation here, but if you see already Sartre and many other philosophers have talked about that this is kind of projects, a freedom project, because we can enact ourselves and our desires in form of an organizational form like projects. Next slide. But now reality. If you look into the job ads, typically newspapers, you see rather a very shiny position, like on the right here. But sometimes in my trainings, I ask people to draw a picture. How do they feel in that project context? And here you see a picture of a project manager at the age of 31, I think. And in German, we always say it's a Projektleiter, not a Projektleiter. We call them not project managers, but project leader. But that guy on the left is not leading. He's sacrificing himself in a project. And the team is not engaged in the project, just being, let's say, hanging loose in the back, smiling, and there are many obstacles towards the goal, and you have the sponsor or the client as a bird, and so you see, it's not the CEO of the project. It's more a suffering, a sacrificing, and that's not where we like the people to be. This is why we also need to really make clear what kind of vision do we have in that career path. And typically what we promote is that we like to have a CEO of the project, an entrepreneur type of people, because that matches also their needs, like in the self-determination theory. And so we need to bring them out of this sacrificing or suffering into a more self-empowered, self-engaging, and also self-reflective position. Next slide. And it was quite interesting that in Germany, the German Project Management Association is every, I think, 2 or 3 years doing a salary and career survey. So this year already we delivered the last version, the latest version of it. There are always 700 or more than 1,000 people from the Germanic region here participating. And one of that surveys also asked for what do employees ask from their organization. And the top ranked desire of those people is having a challenging project assignment. So they want just a challenging project task. That's number one. And second one is that they also want to have some accountability. So they don't just want to be responsible for a certain task. No, they say we want to be kind of a CEO role, or we want to have an accountability so that we also feel the burden of this accountability throughout the project. But often it is not given to them. Just on paper, maybe there's some accountability, but not the real accountability, which goes together with authority, so that they also have the possibility of assigning certain people into certain roles, that they have their own budget, etc., etc. And then they also want, and that's number 3, a recognition of achievements in the project. So the recognition may be just a thank you. It may be a recognition of a promotion. It may be a recognition of getting visible in the organization, maybe by a blog post or a photo or something else. And the fourth one, and it's also embedded in all the others, is a career advancement. And they also show their disappointment with the career advancement. So in some organization, the above is fulfilled, but still they don't see any progression. So in some organization, it's kind of a dead end position to become a project manager, and you can imagine that's not attractive at all. So people may do one project, but then they disappear back into a line function. And if you talk about salary, that's at the lowest rank or position here. So it's not the salary that is attractive to the people, and that matches with other motivation theories that you may know. So it is that there needs to be a progression, and progression, like you see here on this ladder or stairway. It's not the stairway to hell, but should be stairway to a career in project management. And that's not the salary that makes it attractive, but fulfilling or matching the intrinsic motivation of the people, which all people have, and fulfill it through a career advancement. Now, go to the next slide, please. Because when in 20 years or 25 years ago, when we started to design the first career model, it looked a bit like the left side, which is kind of a fork, because you have an entry-level position, and then you can decide somewhere on your career path whether you go into a professional career, which may be in engineering or a technical career, or you go to the, you stay on the middle, that would be a leadership career path, which you can imagine is quite a narrow career path because only a few positions would be available, or then go for a project manager career path, which would be on 3 or 4 or 5, or some have even more levels, starting from a more junior level through a management level, senior level, to an executive or principal level. Now, nowadays, we see a career path in project management is more hybrid. It's more, let's say, fluid. It also means you can change from one career path to another. So typically, what it's in my experience, most of the people in my world start more on the professional side as an engineer or a construction engineer or something. Then they move to projects. So they may climb up a while in the project management career path, and then I think they are so competent and experienced, they may end up in a leadership career position, or move back into another domain. So it's not that it's just a vertical escalation or acceleration of your career, but it's typically a quite hybrid or mixed approach, and a career path in an organization actually needs to cover that and allow people to move from one domain to another domain, or from one career path, not losing any, let's say, recognition or salary or benefits or any status things. And that's quite complex to design such a career path. But that's what we actually are doing right now, and what is the task for many of the organization right now, to show and demonstrate through that career progression that they are attractive to young talents to enter that from the, let's say, entry level on. Next slide, please. And now that also is very important that we define the jobs. And as you know, IPMA, the International Project Management Association, has a competence baseline, which is also designed to be used as a framework for a career progression, a career model. Basically, we have 4 levels. And you see level D on the upper right here is the entry level, certified project management associate, then project manager, senior project manager. but the titles are not the important, because behind the titles, we first have a profile with certain competence requirements, which are people competences, practice competences, perspective competences, so different competence areas, which needs to be fulfilled at a certain level. And therefore, we use Bloom's taxonomy, and all that ends in a taxonomy where we map the job descriptions and job competence and skill requirements with the Bloom's taxonomy. So on the lower level, so for example, you need to remember and understand certain competences like risk. So you just need to understand how risk management is done. But if you're a certified project manager, it's not just understanding how risk management is done or knowing how the PMBOK deals with it. No, you need to apply and prove that you can apply it in a certain complexity of a project. And this is why already now the qualification and certification pays into this career progression, because now you can say everyone on this career level has to have a certification which proves skills or competences at a certain, let's say, Bloom level. And you can also design all these curricula that you have in your organization, like from a fundamental project management training through advanced levels of trainings up to a coaching and other learning forms up to the level A here for the project directors, which are very experienced and don't need a training anymore, but they still need an exchange and maybe a benchmarking and coaching with peers. So that's how you can combine your architecture of the career path with learning and qualifications and certifications. Next slide, please. So now, what are requirements or preconditions on the way to design a career path in project management? Basically, and that's where the PMO is coming in, the PMO can also see from the pipeline of the portfolio what kind of numbers and complexities of projects are we doing in the next 6 months, maybe in the next 2-3 years, and can also derive a personnel requirement plan or staffing plan. So on which project categories, which numbers and qualifications do we need to cover all the project portfolio and the pipeline? And you see that's depending on the corporate strategy, certainly. That will also depend on the project business that you are doing. Maybe you have various businesses, so you need to prioritize those businesses and also tell through the PMO department, the HR department, what kind of people and competences and skills and profiles do we actually need. And then you need to have a clear competence model, maybe an international accepted one that you design also and categorize per level for the career model, and that you define those competence profiles that you need for each of those levels, because that's a precondition for the HR department then to start recruiting, start selecting, and also then work on the retention and the development part of HR. There could be some generic development journeys for project managers. So that could be an entry level for seniors, and also exit points where you will say, okay, you can exit that project management career and progress into a leadership position. So that may be all the possibilities in designing those paths. So it's quite a complex design, but it may have different journeys and levels and exit and entry points. And a combination, you need to have a continued development framework, which may be a curricula from an entry level up to the executive level of project managers, and human resource guidance through the process of that. It starts typically with an annual HR talk with your superior, maybe 360 degrees assessments, etc. So all that needs to be aligned with the project career. But what is most important, and these are the last three bullets, it is the image of projects. Is the image of projects a positive one, then people are attracted to it. If it's a negative one, if you're just sacrificing yourself, it will not be attractive, and you can stop your career path of thinking because it will never work. It's also the collective mindset in the organization. Is it a project-friendly culture and atmosphere in the organization? Does it support that project managers also to do their job in that organization, or they are just seen as Don Quixotes, just doing nonsense work? And basically also all that depends on the top management support in that arena. Next slide, please. And that's the second last slide now. And that all means that the PMO is in a central position to do all that and support not only the establishment of a career path, which would be somehow also the role of the PMO to help together with HR to develop a kind of a standard career path with competence profiles and all these HR tools. So you have to adopt an HR perspective in a PMO, or maybe have one HR representative in your PMO, at least link and closely collaborate with the PMO. From a project portfolio management perspective, you always have the numbers of the staff you need for the future projects and the pipeline you have in mind. And so you need to do a forecasting of the demand and prepare the organization to hire, and also do the retention and the development of the staff in that direction. And professional organizations have a database for all levels of these competences and support that process in that regard. And then you anyway support in the training and the coaching. So this is how you can support the project managers in getting ready for the career path and entering it, and also progressing their career. So these are all the jobs, next slide please, that the PMO can support basically in. And I would also say that the most important one is that you need to have a close connection with your top management to convince them that for the success of your projects, the success of this projectification that's going on in your organization, you need something like a career path to be attractive to the employees to go for that journey. And if it's not attractive, you would not have enough people to manage your project, or you just have someone managing a project, which may end up in a disaster or a failure in the end. Okay, and then you may help the whole HR department and that process to find the right people and bring the right project managers in the right projects. So having this database in mind, you can assign the right project manager to the right project type or category, which is sometimes a complex thing, but if you have already prepared yourself, I think it's much easier. And you can help all the recipients of that career, that could be external ones or internal ones, to go for that training, maybe do parts of the training on your own, support them in coaching in real project situations or mentoring. And basically also, that's the third last bullet here, collect lessons learned and feedback, and bring that feedback to the attention of the top management, how to optimize and important to build that project-friendly culture and that positive image of that career. So you see there's a close connection between the PMO and this project management career path. It needs to, you need to rethink the way you support kind of this career path, because otherwise you run out of competent project managers in the future. We see that as a big problem here in Germany. And I think that will be also a problem in future for other countries or other sectors that we are running out of competent project managers. And with that here, we can prepare for the future. So with that, I'm ending my presentation and I'm open to your questions.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for the time that you put and dedication to teach us about PMO's role in supporting a career path for project managers. We appreciate it. There's a question for you, which is, can you elaborate more on the key elements that make project roles attractive to professionals, and how can organizations enhance these aspects?
If you think of yourself and see projects through your own eyes, I think you will find yourself the answer, because that also depends a bit on your own personality. It depends on your experience you already have and so on. So in my view, projects are the most attractive thing to do, because I personally hate routine work. So what do I gain through doing a project? I do something different. I do something challenging. I know there are risks. I love risks because risks are opportunities. But that's me. That's me personally. So I think there's no general answer to that. But by asking those employees or people that want to go for projects what they want, what they see as valuable to them in their personality and stage of career, you will find the right people. And basically, that's also my problem in most of the organization. They just ask, do you want to become a project manager? And they say, okay, why not? And then they start doing a project and fail because they never thought of what is a project giving to me, or do I like projects or not? So there's no general answer. It's a very individual answer, but that should be done before you enter a project area or project career.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Reinhardt. A very well presented session indeed. One more question for you as we have time. How can a PMO actively support the career development of project managers beyond just assigning projects?
The question is, where is the home of the project managers? That's also very different. So the home means they have a disciplinary superior. So some project managers are directly in the PMO, but in Germany, that's very rarely the case. So most of our project managers are part-time project managers. They are typically employed in the line function. So you see the stretch. Now, you as a PMO need to pull in people from a line function into becoming a project manager part-time role. So this is why you need to work with those people. You need to not only work with the one becoming a project manager, but also with their superiors. And typically that's the stretch in an organization, that you need to make clear to the line department functional head why you need that person, how long and to what intensity you need that person to get that resource into your project. So before the assignment, you basically need to do a negotiation. You need to do also an argumentation why that person is the right person to do that project. Or you may have a fight with that line manager to get exactly that person to do the project. So I think that's basically the battlefield most of the PMOs are in, between this, what I showed, between the line organization and the project organization. So they are quite the intermediaries between those two worlds. And this is how you can support the project world, by negotiating, by helping bridging those two worlds.
Thank you, Dr. Reinhardt. Let me just check LinkedIn once if we have more questions.
There is a question like, what are the differences between traditional career paths and project career models? And why is a hybrid model often more effective, if you believe so?
Because the type of work we do is very different. Again, if you go for a professional career, you have these annual appraisals, you have this annual budgeting. So everything is in the calendar year. But in a project, a project does not fit into this calendar year. It's temporary work, maybe just 6 months, and then you do another job and so on. So you see, there are two speeds or let's say rhythms in an organization, and this is why a project career is typically a different career, needs to be, let's say, more a hybrid model. And also sometimes in many organizations, I know if they want to assign you to a top leadership position, you have to be a project manager, at least for a while, to show that you can deal with it, risk situation, uncertainty, this change of something and so on. So through a project, you can prove also to the management that you are able to deal with complex situations. So this is why typically project managers, if you're not doing, if they do not fail in their project, they are promoted to a leadership position. And that's also often the expectation of the people going for that career, that there's a next step. So this is why a project management career is somehow in between the others.
Thank you, Dr. Reinhardt. We are glad that you gave us your time.